In this video, I'm going to teach you the most important concept in tech house and in music overall. And I'm saying this quite literally, actually. Let me show you two examples of the same track where I'm not using the sonic pulsation theory. And in the second one, I'm going to be using this method. So let's check it out. And now let's check the second example where I'm using this method. So check it out. So as you can hear, the first example, it is so much more clean. It just sounds better. It is rhythmically better. And overall, it sounds much cleaner. So what is the secret? What is the difference? And what's the mindset that you need to have so you can make your music sound like the example number 2, clean and professional, and not like the example number 1, which is just like all over the place, too many elements, too many rhythmic accents. So in this video, I'm going to teach you the method that I developed that I call the sonic pulsation theory, which is all about understanding the rhythmic pulsation in the track, positioning of your accents, and the overall arrangement. So how do you arrange a track using this concept? And for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Vlad and I create superstar music producers. If you're interested in coaching, you want to work one-on-one with me on your music, all the links are down below. Feel free to book a call with me or DM me on Instagram if you want to learn more about my one-on-one coaching program. And without further talking, let's get straight into the video. So as usual, we're going to start with the presentation, and what I picked for this video is another Renaissance masterpiece, which is called The Birth of Adam. And I think it really illustrates the concept like really well. So let's just take a look at the picture, try to imagine the whole thing visually, and then I'll be explaining more of the theory. So just by looking at the painting, you can see how well balanced it is. And the background is very simple. It doesn't distract from the rhythm and the melody. So let's imagine that the atom, it is the big idea number 1. So let's say that's going to be like the melody, and the God, I think this is the God, right? So don't judge me if I'm not guessing this right. This is the big idea number 2, and everything that we have in the background. So this is just the background. It's very simple. It doesn't distract from the rhythm and the melody. So let's take this one step further. So Adam is the melody, God is the rhythm. And we could say that touching hands is the interplay between melody and rhythm. So it creates synergy and dynamic musical experience. So this is what we have to get right in the track to make sure that it both rhythmically and melodically hits well, right? So it should work in synergy. So again, it is the connection, rhythmical connection, dynamic connection between the melody and between the rhythm. So let's break it down. I want to show you the next diagram, the next slide, and we're going to talk about understanding pulsation in the track. So I will show you something in Ableton. So we have the kick and we have the key elements. I highlighted everything here so you can see everything visually like a little bit better. So we have the vocal, pink and white parts of the vocal that I highlighted are rhythmic accents of the vocal. Same goes for the drums, same goes for the bass. So what you need to do is you need to support the accents with the other sounds. So take a look at this, and now let's go back into Ableton and let's listen. I'm gonna be just playing you the elements one by one and comparing that to the second track, and I will explain why it doesn't work in this context. So let's take the first example, right? We're gonna take the kick and the bass. Let's just listen to the kick and the bass just like solo. super simple, like really, really simple. Now, let's check this with the vocal and try to observe how the bass supports the vocal. And then we're gonna bounce back to the another example. So you see? It's like push and pull. Some of the notes are pushing it, like pushing it down, and some of the notes are pulling it out. So that's the logic that you have to have when you're working with rhythmic accents. And then the next one, right? So every single note on the bass, I strategically position it in the mix, right? So again, listening to once again. So all the notes are working towards one groove, right? Same here. It's pretty much like the same thing that we had here. Now, if we go to the second example and we take a look at the bass notes, this is like the bad bass, right? In this context, if we take this and we listen with the vocal, it just doesn't go like well with it. The rhythm is just completely off, but like the vocal was so good that it was actually kind of hard to make a bad sounding bass, but I was pretty good with it. So check it out. So it just sounds like it's too much, too many accents, and the accents that we have on the bass, they are not going well with the sound that we already have, right? So in this case, especially with the drums, we just have too many elements playing at the same time, which is just not good, right? So again, let's go back to the picture. And we're going to be showing you the drum section. So we already talked about the bass, and now you can hear how it affects the whole groove in the track. So let's connect, let's play a bit more. So now I want to do the open hats and the claps, since this is like the foundation, right? And let's discuss the rest of the elements. So if I just play you the shaker section, it's like shaker and percussion together. So this is how it's going to sound. Let's make it a little bit louder. So you see how those little accents, they just contribute to the groove. It just sounds amazing. Like I was trying to overcomplicate the whole thing, but at the end, it was just so good. It was just so good. And then if we listen to the next one, just listen to this little percussion, how it fills up the space in the mix, right? So we have a little gap here. And then we have one more hat here and a reversed clap. So again, just by listening to individual elements, just focus on the white section, right? And try to, again, analyze how it works with the groove of the track, how it supports the vocal. And I could say that on this one, we could do like this. I would do like this. I feel like it makes the groove a little bit better. You see, just so amazing, right? But so simple. So essentially what we are doing and what you have to do in your track to make sure it sounds good is you just need to fill up the space in between, but still leave some space for the track to breathe, right? That's really important. And then I would maybe make this section like a little bit different, just so I'm not using the same shaker, but this is just like one level further. The most important thing for you to understand how to actually apply this, right? So let's discuss a good example. So this was like a really good example. So let's say that the red ones, we have the vocal or the main melody, like whatever is the thing, right? What have you. So we need to focus on the main groove. And in the track, as you heard, I'm focusing on the main groove, on the main rhythm of the track. So I'm not trying to introduce too many elements, too many rhythmical accents and so on. So let's say like on the bass, we are pretty much like the biggest notes that we have, they are repeating and they are accentuating the same rhythm that we have for the vocal. Because for me, the vocal was like the main instrument and I built the whole track around it. And then same goes for the percussion. Again, we could say that this is the schematic representation of the sonic pulsation method. So all the elements should work together. You don't want to outshine the main groove. You don't want to introduce too many elements. This is just not good. Like it's not going to make any sense. Again, so if we listen to the whole thing now with the hats, with the claps, it's going to sound really, really good. So every single element is super important. For example, if we take the hat fill, this one, the white one, it's pulling you out a little bit, right? It like shoom, like goes like shoom. It just pulls you out, like so amazing. And I'm not even gonna use any shakers at this point. It just doesn't make any sense, right? And then what we can do more is we can emphasize a specific parts in the track with the automation. So I can automate the bass cutoff. Right, so this is the logic. This is the thing that we have to understand. And then if we listen to the next section, it's pretty much the same thing. I think the same pattern. I just added the reds. So let's check it out. I chopped the vocal again, but also take a look at how those little bass layers, at how they add and they contribute to the groove. So once again, let's do. But this bass, one thing, this is an example that I wanted to show you, it's overlapping with the percussion, so I would rather keep the percussion and get rid of the bass. Just because if you have too many elements playing at the same time, it's just not going to really work that well, right? So after I take out the bass, and we can listen together, I'm going to show you first, right? It just doesn't go well together. They conflict in terms of the frequency, so I would just leave the percussion. It's really cool. And then once we add little percussive elements, it just sounds so good. I absolutely like love this track. Gonna be like a really cool bootleg that I could play in the club. But basically, yeah, once we start playing everything together, and you can see the most important thing is the simplicity of the whole thing. Just keep it simple, guys. You don't need to overcomplicate stuff. That's it. You don't need to add more. Like this is already a full track. Maybe with the leads here. Right, and then we can listen this on, let's say if we do real phones, and we'll listen on Music Studio, right? So let's check it out. So starting from... And then the second section. So let's talk a little bit about a bad example. So here we do have, you can see we have the green one. Those are the accents, right? So we have accents that are, sometimes they are supporting each other, but sometimes they just overlap. So the biggest problem is the lack of space in the track. You need to have some space to sort of breathe. The track just has to breathe. It has to have the spacing between the elements, because if you do too much, then it's just going to sound like crap, just going to sound like a huge mess. And this is in fact what I was struggling with a lot. So even if I, let's say, close the filter a little bit, it becomes too much. We're going to break down the individual elements, but basically if you have something like this and you just have too many accents playing at the same time, and perhaps it looks like this, we have a different rhythm here, we have a different rhythm here, and we have another rhythm that is just not making any sense in the context of the track, right? So what we can do here is, let's first just go one by one. We have the vocal and we have the bass. It just don't go well. Then let's say we have the layers. I mean, obviously, I added this just to illustrate the concept, right? We have already like too many. And especially if we do the percussion fills, right? So rhythm number 1, we have the rhythm number 2, let's make it, I don't know, maybe green. And then we have the rhythm number 3 that is going to be red one, right? It's already too much. You just don't need that. And then we have the hats, the claps. You see, it just becomes a mess. You don't want that. Like the thing is, you don't need that. Sometimes you just need to have a very basic hat, clap, kick, bass, vocal, and that's really it. I want to show you the reference, and like I have some balls to say I'm not liking the reference, and I think the version that I did, like I personally prefer mine over the reference for one simple reason: they just didn't get the rhythm right, just from my point of view. Again, this is not like the ultimate truth. This is how I feel. The bass is just not going really well with the vocal. So just try listening to the accents. It's like, I do have to say that the mixing is really top notch. I absolutely love the mixing, the drums, but the bass is like too many notes on the bass. To me, just like it distracts me from the vocal. So I basically replicated in my version. Again, take a look at the accents here. I replicated, and just without the drums, it's already sounding pretty. And with the drums, it just. They go well along, they just go well together, and the bass is using the same rhythm as the vocal. So to summarize everything, I want to show you this diagram and again talk about the main concept. You have to focus on the main groove. Essentially, there's only one groove in the track and everything else is meant to support it, to not introduce too many grooves in one track. It will kill the main pulsation, the sonic pulsation. So once you understand the rhythm, the pulsation in the track, everything else becomes like super, super easy, right? So let's imagine that this was the vocal, right? The second sound, it hits on a very, very specific notes. Right. Same goes for the third sound, whatever, like whether it's a percussion, a lead sound, chord, like what have you. And then the fourth sound, right? So we are basically just trying to accentuate the main groove. So always think about simplicity. It should be really, really simple. And again, just to illustrate the concept before we end, because that's pretty much it. Really simple concept, but it will improve your arrangements so much, right? If we listen to this in the club setting, right, it's gonna sound really clean, and this is what you have to understand. Once I started playing in the club, I really understood that stuff has to be simple. Even just the kick, the bass, vocal, drums is like, it's already pretty much like it's enough. It's enough, and you don't have to add more, right? If we just listen to this thing on a club speaker, Like, do you really need more at this point? I don't think so. Like, the second section, it's a little bit more complex, but not a lot. And then if you listen to the second one, like, it's just pure mess. And the second one as well, same thing. Yes, it sounds cool. It is complex, but what it's not getting right is, again, the sonic pulsation. It doesn't focus on the main group. So again, the key takeaways, guys. So what you have to understand, you have one groove, that's it. And you should understand what are the main rhythmic accents in this groove. And after that, you will be able to build the whole track around it, right? So you just really need to find the key notes or the key parts in the vocal, in the melody, on the bass, and then you just need to layer them a little bit together, put some accents on the main thing, and you will have a track. So this is this is already pretty much like a finished track. Maybe I could add like one super simple atmosphere, and maybe not, because once I start automating the bass, adding reverb to the vocal, maybe adding some FX drums and stuff like that. Again, not adding new sound, just adding a little bit of space to the track. That's gonna be it. You don't really need to do more than that. And yeah, that's gonna be it. I see you guys in the next one. Bye.